bullies threw food at the new kid in front of everyone. But what happened next shocked the school. The silence that fell over the cafeteria at Lincoln Public Middle School was deafening. Tyler Mitchell Anderson wiped the spaghetti sauce dripping down his face while all the other students stood frozen, some giggling quietly, others too embarrassed to look. Then a plate of pasta flew straight at his chest, leaving red stains all over his white shirt. The Harris brothers, Jason and Ethan, burst into laughter, clapping as if they had just watched the best show of their lives. "Look, everyone, the poor kid is all messy," shouted Jason, the older of the two, pointing at Tyler. "Too bad your mommy will have to clean this up. Oh wait, she already does that right here at school." The 12-year-old boy felt his stomach twist, not because of the food thrown at him, but because of the mention of his mother. Sarah Mitchell had worked as a cleaning assistant at that same school for 3 years, ever since they moved to Dayton for a better life. "Leave him alone, Ethan," whispered Emma, a girl who always sat alone. "He didn't do anything to you." "And what are you going to do about it?" snapped Ethan, the younger but equally cruel brother. "Tell the principal. She doesn't even care about this stuff." In fact, Mrs. Patricia Thompson was watching everything through the security cameras in her office. Her brown eyes were fixed on the screen, but a strange expression crossed her face. She scribbled something in a small notebook, as if documenting every detail of that moment. Tyler grabbed his books and ran out of the cafeteria. The laughter of the Harris brothers echoed through the halls as he searched for a place to hide. He ended up in the second-floor boys' bathroom, the least used one in the school. As he tried to clean his shirt with wet toilet paper, he heard footsteps approaching. His mother walked in, carrying a bucket and cleaning supplies. "Sweetheart, what happened?" Sarah dropped everything and rushed to him. Her eyes filled with tears when she saw the state of her son. "It's nothing, Mom. I just spilled some food on myself." "Tyler, don't lie to me. I saw you running out of the cafeteria." The boy hugged his mother, breathing in the familiar scent of detergent and exhaustion that always clung to her. "They threw food at me, Mom, the sons of the owner of the company you work for." Sarah's heart raced. The outsourced company, Harris & Sons Cleaning Services, was responsible for all the school's cleaning. If Tyler got into trouble with the boss's sons, she would surely lose her job. "Listen carefully," she said, holding his face with her still damp hands. "You can't fight back, understand? We need this job. It's the only one I could get after your father left us. But Mom, they humiliate me every day. And now they found out you work here. Then you stay strong. Study. Focus on your books. And don't give them a reason to bother you. Promise me," Tyler promised, even though he knew it would be nearly impossible to keep. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. In the following days, things got much worse. The Harris brothers found out where Sarah worked inside the school and started making deliberate messes in the areas she had just cleaned. During recess on Tuesday, Jason knocked over a full soda cup right in the middle of the hallway Sarah had waxed that morning. "Oops, how careless of me," he said loudly for everyone to hear. "Looks like someone will have to clean this all over again." Sarah appeared a few minutes later with the mop. Her eyes met her son's as he watched from a distance, and she made a subtle gesture for him not to come closer. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Sarah," Jason said with a fake smile. "It was an accident." "No problem, Jason. It's part of my job." Tyler clenched his fists. Seeing his mother humiliated like that was worse than anything they could do to him. In math class, Ms. Jennifer asked who wanted to solve a problem on the board. Tyler always knew the answer, but never raised his hand. Drawing attention meant giving the bullies more ammunition. "How about you, Tyler?" the teacher insisted. "I don't know, ma'am." "Of course you don't," Ethan muttered from the desk behind him. "A janitor's kid doesn't need to know math anyway." A few kids snickered quietly. Tyler felt his face burn with shame. After class, as he packed his books, an elderly woman approached. It was Mrs. Barbara Wilson, a retired teacher who volunteered at the school twice a week. "Can I talk to you for a moment?" she asked with a kind smile. "I didn't do anything wrong, ma'am." "I know, dear. Actually, I wanted to talk about math. I've noticed you always know the answers but never speak up." Tyler glanced around, checking if the Harris brothers were nearby. "It's just, I'd rather not draw attention. How about coming here on Wednesdays after school? I could help you with some more advanced exercises. I have a feeling you have a lot of potential." The boy considered the offer. At least it would be 1 day a week when he wouldn't have to go straight home and dwell on the day's humiliations. "Okay, ma'am, but you can't tell anyone, right? It'll be our secret." The following Wednesday, Tyler stayed after school. Mrs. Barbara took him to an empty classroom on the 3rd floor, far from the usual activity. "I'll show you some interesting problems," she said, opening a book full of exercises. "But first, tell me what's been going on with you. Someone my age has seen a lot in life." Tyler hesitated but ended up telling her everything about the Harris brothers, the food thrown at him, his mother's situation. "I see," Mrs. Barbara said after listening. "You know, I went through similar things as a child. My family didn't have much money either. How did you handle it?" "By studying. Studying so much that one day no one could look down on me anymore." She opened the book to a specific page. "Let's start here." To Tyler's surprise, the exercises were fascinating. Mrs. Barbara was right about his potential. In an hour, he solved problems he didn't even know he could understand. "Incredible," the teacher murmured. "Tyler, you have a natural gift for numbers. Have you ever thought about joining math competitions?" "There are math competitions, of course, and first place wins a full scholarship to private schools." The boy's eyes lit up for the first time in weeks. Unfortunately, as he left school, the Harris brothers were waiting. "Look who decided to stay late," Jason said. "What were you doing in there, huh?" "Nothing much. Just helping the teacher with some things." "Liar." Ethan shoved him against the wall. "We saw you going into a room with that old retired lady. What were you two doing?" "None of your business." "Everything that happens in this school is our business," Jason shot back. "Our dad practically pays everyone's salaries here, including your dear mummies." The next day, Tyler was eager for his next lesson with Mrs. Barbara, but the Harris brothers appeared at the classroom door. "Ma'am," Jason said in his most polite voice, "the principal wants to see you." Mrs. Barbara Wilson stepped out for a few minutes. When she returned, she looked worried. "Tyler, it seems we won't be able to have our lesson today." "Why, Miss Jennifer?" "The principal said," she hesitated, "that she can't authorize extra lessons without other staff present. Safety reasons." Tyler knew that was a lie. Somehow, the Harris brothers had managed to ruin even this moment of peace. That evening at home, Sarah noticed her son was quieter than usual. "Did something happen today?" "No, Mom. I'm just tired." They lived in a simple 2-room house in the West Side Heights neighborhood. Sarah had rented the place with the money she'd saved working as a housekeeper before getting the job at the school. "Tyler, I know it's been hard for you, but things will get better, I promise." "How can you be so sure?" "Because I have you, and you're smart, much smarter than those boys who bother you. One day they'll see who you really are." The next morning, as he arrived at school, Tyler found Mrs. Barbara waiting for him at the gate. "We need to talk," she whispered. "Meet me at the little square across from school during recess." All morning, the boy felt anxious. What did the teacher want to tell him? At recess, he crossed the street and found Mrs. Barbara sitting on a bench. "Tyler, I can't give you lessons at school anymore, but that doesn't mean we'll stop." "What do you mean, Ms. Jennifer?" "I live nearby at 234 Maple Street. If you want to keep studying with me, you can come by on Wednesdays and Fridays after 5 in the evening." "But what if someone finds out?" "They won't. And even if they do, I'm a 70-year-old woman. No one's going to stop an old lady from helping a child study." Tyler felt a surge of hope. Maybe he could still participate in that math competition. "Ms. Jennifer, can I ask you something? Why are you doing this for me?" Mrs. Barbara smiled warmly. "Because when I was your age, I suffered a lot in school too. My family was very poor and the other children treated me badly because of it, but one teacher believed in me and changed my life. Now it's my turn to do that for someone else." Dear listener, If you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like the video and especially to subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. The following weeks brought a new routine for Tyler. At school, he endured the taunts and humiliation from the Harris brothers without reacting. But on Wednesdays and Fridays, he rushed to Mrs. Barbara's house to dive into the fascinating world of advanced math. The teacher's home was small but cozy, filled with books and old photographs. She had been a math teacher for over 40 years before retiring. "Today we'll work on spatial geometry," she said, spreading books across the kitchen table. "This will definitely come up in the Olympiad." Tyler absorbed everything like a sponge. In just a month, he was already solving problems years ahead of the school curriculum. "Ms. Jennifer, how did you know I could learn all this?" "Experience, my dear. After 4 decades of teaching, you learn to recognize talent, and you have plenty." Unfortunately, things at school kept getting worse. The Harris brothers discovered Tyler always ate lunch alone at a corner table in the cafeteria and began making that moment even harder. On Monday, Jason walked over with his plate full of beans. "Ah, Tyler, you always eat alone. How about I keep you company?" Before the boy could respond, Jason flipped the plate onto the table, scattering food everywhere. "Oops, how clumsy of me," he said, laughing. "Your mum will have to clean this up later." On Tuesday, it was Ethan's turn. He brought a glass of milk and pretended to trip, spilling it all over the chair where Tyler was about to sit. "Wow, how clumsy of me," he said loudly. "Someone's going to have to clean this whole chair." On Wednesday, Tyler decided to eat lunch in the bathroom to avoid more humiliation. He sat on the cold tile floor and ate the sandwich his mum had packed. Meanwhile, in the principal's office, Mrs. Patricia Thompson continued her mysterious notes. She watched every movement through the cameras, documenting everything in her private notebook. At Mrs. Barbara Wilson's house that afternoon was special. "Tyler, I have a surprise for you," the teacher said with a smile. "I signed you up for the American Public School Math Olympiad." "Really?" The boy's eyes lit up. "The first round is in 3 weeks. It's a test at your school, but you can't tell anyone you're participating. I put your name on the list as just a regular student who's interested." "But what if I don't make it?" "You will, I'm sure of it. Let's step up our studying. How about we start meeting on Saturdays too?" Tyler agreed immediately. For the first time in months, he felt like he had something to look forward to. The following Saturday, he made up an excuse to his mum about a group project and went to Mrs. Barbara's house. They spent the whole morning solving problems from past tests. "Incredible," the teacher murmured as Tyler solved a particularly difficult problem. "You did that faster than most college students would." "Really, Mom?" "Absolutely. Tyler, you have a bright future ahead. You just need to believe in yourself." Unfortunately, on Monday, the Harris brothers seemed to have something special planned. During recess, they approached him with several other boys. "Hey, everyone, you know Tyler, right?" Jason said to the group. "The janitor's kid." "So what?" one of the boys asked, clearly uncomfortable. "Well, we were thinking," Ethan continued, "since his mom cleans the whole school, how about we give her more work to do?" The brothers started throwing paper on the floor, knocking over trash cans, stomping on fruit until it turned to mush on the ground. "Look at this mess," Jason said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Someone's going to have to clean all this up." Tyler saw his mom appear in the hallway with her cleaning supplies. Their eyes met for a second, and he saw the sadness on her face. "Let me help you, Mom," he said, stepping forward. "No," Sarah said firmly but quietly. "Go to your classroom. I don't want you involved in this." At that moment, Tyler made a decision. He couldn't fight back against the Harris brothers, but he could do something that would change everything. Win that Olympiad. For the next 2 weeks, he studied like never before. Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays with Mrs. Barbara, and every other evening alone at home, buried in books the teacher had lent him. "You're studying too much, son," Sarah said one evening. "You don't have to push yourself like this." "I just want to get good grades, Mom, so you can be proud of me." "I'm already proud. You're a good, polite, smart boy. You don't have to prove anything to anyone." But Tyler knew he had to, not for others, but for himself. On the Friday before the test, Mrs. Barbara did a final review. Remember the tips I taught you? She asked. Yes. Read the problem 3 times before solving it. Start with the easy ones and leave the hard ones for last. And always check my answers. Perfect, and remember the most important thing? Take a deep breath and believe in myself. Exactly. Tyler, no matter the result, I'm already so proud of you. In 2 months, you've learned what many students take years to understand. On Sunday night, the day before the test, Tyler barely slept. And it wasn't just because of nerves. The neighbors were throwing a party that lasted until dawn. On Monday, he arrived at school earlier than usual. The test would take place during first period in the computer lab. When he walked in, he was surprised to see 15 other students from the school. He hadn't realized so many classmates had signed up too. Good morning, everyone, said the teacher in charge. You have 2.5 hours to solve 20 problems. You may begin. Tyler opened the test and took a deep breath, just as Mrs. Barbara had taught him. The first question was about fractions. Easy. The second, basic geometry. No problem. As he progressed, the problems grew more complex, but he managed to solve them without much trouble. All that intensive studying was paying off. In the last half hour, he focused on the toughest questions. One was about geometric progression, exactly the kind of problem he had practiced dozens of times with Mrs. Barbara. When time was up, Tyler felt confident. He knew he had done well, really well. How did it go? Mrs. Barbara asked when they met the following Friday. I think I solved almost all of them, Mom. Maybe 18 or 19 out of 20. Wonderful. The results come out in 2 weeks. Let's hope for the best. Those 2 weeks were the longest of Tyler's life. At school, the taunts from the Harris brothers continued, but he endured them better, knowing his life might change soon. One Thursday, they came up with a new game. They started following Sarah through the halls, pretending to supervise her work. Mrs. Sarah, I think that corner over there is still dirty, Jason said, pointing to a spot she had just cleaned. And that bathroom over there, has it been cleaned today? Ethan added. Sarah bore it all in silence, but Tyler could see she was reaching her limit. One night, he found her crying in the kitchen. What's wrong, Mum? It's nothing, sweetheart. I'm just tired. It's because of those boys, isn't it? She didn't answer, but the silence said everything. Mum, what if I told you we might not have to deal with this much longer? What do you mean? Tyler hesitated. He had promised not to mention the Olympiad, but seeing his mother suffer like this was too much. I entered a math competition. If I win, I might get a scholarship to a private school. Sarah stopped crying and looked at him in surprise. What competition? When was this? 2 weeks ago, Mrs. Barbara helped me study. The results come out tomorrow. Tyler, why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want to get your hopes up. But Mom, I think I did really well. That night, Sarah lay awake thinking. Her son had always been smart, but she never imagined he could compete at that level. On Friday, Tyler arrived at school more anxious than ever. The results would be posted by the end of the day on the bulletin board outside the office. The classes dragged on forever. During recess, he paced the halls, unable to focus. At 4:30 p.m., a small crowd had gathered in front of the board. Tyler waited until everyone left before approaching. He scanned the list for his name. Once, twice, 3 times. It wasn't there. His heart sank. All that hope had been for nothing. Then he noticed a separate sheet taped to the right side of the board. Qualifiers for the second round. And there it was. Tyler Mitchell Anderson, 1st place in the school, 3rd place in the region. He had to read it over and over to believe it. 1st place in the school, 3rd place in the region. He had qualified for the second round, which would take place in a month. He ran home faster than he ever had before. He needed to tell his mother. He needed to tell Mrs. Barbara. Mom! Mom! He shouted as he entered the house. What is it, Tyler? Did something happen? I passed the Olympiad. I got 1st place in the school. Sarah dropped the pan she was holding and hugged her son tightly. Oh my God, Tyler! Is this for real? It's real. And there's more. If I do well in the second round, I'll get a full scholarship to St. Patrick's Academy, the best school in town. Mother and son cried together in that moment. It was the first time in months they felt they had something to celebrate. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. On Saturday morning, Tyler went to share the news with Mrs. Barbara. The teacher was so moved that her eyes filled with tears. "I knew it! I knew you could do it!" She hugged him warmly. "Tyler, you have no idea what this means. In the second round, you'll be competing against the best students in the entire state." "So what now, teacher? What do I need to study?" Now things get serious. The second round has much more complex problems. We'll need to double our study time. From that day on, Tyler started going to Mrs. Barbara's house every day except Sunday. They studied advanced math, spatial geometry, number theory, complex algebra. "This is college-level stuff," Tyler remarked after solving a particularly difficult problem. "Exactly. The Olympiad is no joke. They want to find the early geniuses of math." The following Monday, the news that Tyler had passed the Olympiad spread through the school. Reactions were mixed. Some classmates congratulated him, others were surprised, and the Harris brothers, well, they weren't happy at all. "So now you think you're smart," Jason said during recess. "I don't think anything. I just took a test." "A test you probably cheated on," Ethan added. "I don't believe a janitor's kid is that smart." "Leave him alone," said Emma, the shy girl who always sat alone. "He didn't do anything wrong." "Nobody asked for your opinion," Jason shot back. "And you, oh math genius, don't forget where you came from. Your mum will still be cleaning up after us once this little Olympiad game is over." The words stung, but Tyler kept his cool. There were only 3 weeks left until the second round. He couldn't afford to get distracted now. Unfortunately, the Harris brothers decided to escalate their taunts. They found out Tyler left school every day and started following him. On Wednesday, as he was almost at Mrs. Barbara's house, he heard footsteps behind him. "Where do you go every day?" Jason asked. Tyler kept walking without answering. "I'm talking to you." Ethan caught up and grabbed his arm. "Let me go." "Answer first. Where are you going?" "That's none of your business." "Everything you do is our business," Jason said. "Our dad practically supports your family. If we want, your mom loses her job tomorrow." Tyler felt his blood boil, but he took a deep breath like Mrs. Barbara had taught him. "I just go to a teacher's house who helps me with my studies." "What teacher?" "Mrs. Barbara." "That retired old lady?" Ethan laughed. "What could she possibly teach you?" "Math." "Oh, so that's how you passed the test. The old lady helped you cheat." "That's not what happened." "Of course it is. Tomorrow we'll tell the principal. Your qualification will be cancelled." That night, Tyler couldn't sleep. What if the Harris brothers really told that twisted version to the principal? What if they cancelled his spot in the second round? The next morning, he went straight to Mrs. Patricia Thompson's office before classes started. "Principal, may I speak with you?" "Of course, Tyler. Come in and sit down." The boy noticed she had several notebooks on her desk, all filled with handwritten notes. "It's about the math Olympiad. Some classmates are saying I cheated in the first round." Mrs. Thompson studied him for a long moment before responding. "Tyler, did you cheat on the test?" "No, ma'am. I studied really hard for it. Miss Barbara helped me, but it was all honest." "I know." "What do you mean?" "I know you didn't cheat. I also know who's spreading these rumors and why." She opened one of the notebooks. "Tyler, can I ask you a personal question?" "Sure, ma'am." "What's your mother's full name?" "Sarah Mitchell Anderson." "Why?" Mrs. Thompson wrote something in her notebook and looked at him again. "And where did you live before coming to Dayton?" "In Chicago, on the south side. But principal, why these questions?" "Just curiosity. You can go to your class, Tyler. And don't worry about the rumors. Your participation in the Olympiad is guaranteed." Leaving the principal's office, Tyler was puzzled. Why was Mrs. Thompson asking so many questions about his family? And why did she seem to know so much about the teasing from the Harris brothers? At Miss Barbara's house, he told her about the strange conversation. "Very interesting," the teacher murmured. "Tyler, do you remember your mother's maiden name?" "I think it was Anderson. Why?" And she never mentioned anything about her family? Grandparents, uncles, cousins? No. My mom always said she lost touch with her family when she married my dad. Why so much curiosity about this, Miss Barbara? Just an old teacher's hunch. Shall we get back to studying? The next 2 weeks flew by. Tyler absorbed knowledge like never before, solving increasingly complex problems. Miss Barbara had managed to get past Olympiad tests, and they practiced daily. "Tyler, I've never seen a student with as much potential as you," she said one Friday. "No matter what happens in the test, you're already a winner." "Thank you for everything, Miss Barbara. You changed my life." "You changed your own life. I just showed you the way." At school, things were becoming unbearable. The Harris brothers had found Miss Barbara's address and started playing small pranks on Tyler's way there. One afternoon, they scattered nails on the sidewalk in front of the teacher's house. Another time, they threw eggs at her window. Miss Barbara never complained, but Tyler could tell she was worried. "Miss Barbara, maybe I should stop coming here. I don't want you to have problems because of me." "Absolutely not. There's only 1 week left before the test. We'll keep going." The Sunday before the second round of the Olympiad, Tyler was studying at home when his mother sat beside him. "Son, no matter the test results, I want you to know I'm very proud of you." "Thanks, Mom. And I want to ask you something. If you win this scholarship and go to a private school..." "What, Mom?" "Don't forget where you came from. Don't let success go to your head." "Never, Mom. I promise." The second round of the Olympiad would be on Saturday at the Dayton Convention Center. Tyler arrived there with his mother, who had taken time off work to be there. There were about 200 students from the whole region. They all seemed very confident, carrying books and doing last-minute reviews. "I'm nervous, Mom. It's normal, but remember what I always tell you. You're smarter than you think." The test lasted 4 hours. There were 15 extremely difficult questions, requiring advanced reasoning and mathematical creativity. Tyler started with the ones he thought were easiest, as Miss Barbara had taught him. Slowly, he gained confidence. Many of the problems were similar to the ones he had practiced. By the third hour, he reached the most difficult question of all, a number theory problem that seemed impossible. He was about to give up when he remembered a technique Mrs. Barbara Wilson had shown him just once. He applied the method and, to his surprise, the solution began to unfold. There were 15 minutes left when he finished the last question. "How was it?" Sarah asked when he left the room. "Tough, but I think I solved most of it." "When do the results come out?" "In 2 weeks. The top 10 win full scholarships to private schools." Those 2 weeks were pure agony. At school, Tyler could barely focus in class. The Harris brothers kept teasing him, but he didn't even care anymore. His mind was fixed on the Olympiad results. Mrs. Barbara tried to keep him busy with review exercises, but they both knew it was just to pass the time. "Tyler, no matter the result, you need to keep studying math. You have a rare talent." "If I don't win the scholarship, I'll stay in public school. And I'll keep studying, Ms. Jennifer." "Good, because wasted talent is one of the world's greatest tragedies." On the Wednesday of the second week, Tyler was in English class when the school secretary knocked on the door. "Ms. Jennifer, I need to speak with Tyler Mitchell Anderson." The boy's heart raced. Was it about the Olympiad? "Tyler, the principal wants to see you. It's urgent." He walked down the hallway with shaky legs. When he entered Mrs. Patricia Thompson's office, he found his mother there, her eyes red from crying. "Sit down, Tyler," the principal said. "Did something happen? Is Mom okay?" "Your mother is fine. Actually, we have 2 pieces of news for you. One good and one complicated." Tyler looked between them, confused. "The good news is about the Olympiad. You placed second in the state. Congratulations." "Second place, really?" A wave of joy washed over him. "Really? You've earned a full scholarship to St. Patrick's Academy. You can start next semester." "And what's the complicated news?" Mrs. Patricia exchanged a glance with Sarah before answering. "Tyler, there are some things about your family you don't know, and it's time you found out." A chill ran down his spine. "What kind of things?" "Tyler," the principal's voice softened. I'm your grandmother." The silence that followed was deafening. Tyler looked at his mother, then at the principal, trying to process the information. "What do you mean?" "Patricia Thompson was your mother's maiden name," Mrs. Patricia explained. "When she married your father, she became Patricia Mitchell, but you know her as Sarah." "I don't understand." Sarah took a deep breath before speaking. "Son, my real name is Patricia Mitchell, but when we moved to Dayton, I started using my middle name, Sarah, so no one would recognize me." "Why would you do that?" "Because," she hesitated, "because I had a terrible fight with my mother years ago, and I didn't want her to know where we were living." Tyler stared at Mrs. Patricia, still in disbelief. "You're really my grandmother?" "I am, my dear, and these months watching you suffer at school have been the hardest of my life." "Then why didn't you do anything? Why did you let the Harris brothers humiliate me?" "Because I needed to be sure of who you were, and because..." She showed him notebooks filled with notes. "I've been documenting everything, every humiliation, every taunt, every moment of bullying." "For what?" "To sue the Harris family and their company. Tyler, bullying is a crime, and when it's systematic like what they did to you, it can lead to compensation, even jail time." Tyler was still trying to take it all in. "Mom, why did you two fight?" Sarah and Mrs. Patricia exchanged a look. "That's a long story," his mother said. "When I married your father, your grandmother didn't approve. She thought he was no good, that he'd make me suffer." "And she was right," Mrs. Patricia Thompson added. "He abandoned you, didn't he?" "He did," Sarah confirmed. "When Tyler was 8. I tried to find you all these years. I hired detectives, put ads in the papers. When Sarah got a job here at the school and I saw the name Mitchell Anderson on the staff list, I had to investigate." "So that's why you asked me all those strange questions," Tyler said. "Exactly. When you told me your mother's full name and where you used to live, I was sure. But I needed more proof." "What kind of proof?" Mrs. Thompson opened a drawer and pulled out some old photos. "These," she showed a picture of a little girl. "This is your mother when she was 5. You look just like her." Tyler stared at the photo and had to agree. The resemblance was striking. "And this one," she showed another photo, "is your grandfather my husband when he was young. You have the same eyes, the same face shape. Why didn't you say anything sooner?" "Because your mother was always so proud. I knew if she found out who I was too soon, you'd leave town just to avoid relying on me." Sarah was quietly crying. "Mom, I'm so sorry for all those lost years." "Me too, my dear. Me too." They hugged, and Tyler felt like he was witnessing a historic moment for his family. "But I still don't understand," he said. "Why did you let me suffer so long if you knew I was your grandson?" "Because, Tyler, I wanted you to succeed on your own. If I stepped in too soon, you'd always wonder if you earned things by merit or because of my protection. And now you've proven you're brilliant. You placed second in the state math Olympiad, competing against the best students in the state. No one can take that from you." "What about the Harris brothers?" "Oh, them." Mrs. Thompson's smile turned mysterious. "They're in for a very big surprise soon." The following Monday, Tyler arrived at school with mixed feelings. On one hand, he was happy to discover he had a grandmother who loved him. On the other, he still had to endure a few more days of bullying before transferring to the private academy. The Harris brothers were waiting for him at the gate. "What's up, math genius?" Jason said sarcastically. "Heard you passed the Olympiad." "I did." "Too bad it won't change a thing," Ethan added. "Our dad already talked to the principal. You're staying at this school and your mom will keep cleaning up after us." "Is that so?" Tyler smiled for the first time in months. "We'll see." During recess, an unusual commotion took over the school. Several men in suits arrived in official cars, along with a local news van. "What's going on?" Students whispered to each other. At 10 a.m., Mrs. Thompson called everyone to the courtyard for a special assembly. "Good morning, children. Today is a very important day for our school. First, I want to introduce you to the second-place winner of the State Math Olympiad, Tyler Mitchell Anderson." Applause echoed across the courtyard. Tyler stepped onto the small stage, hardly believing this was happening. Tyler achieved this by studying on his own, overcoming personal struggles, and showing exemplary dedication to his education. More applause. From the back of the courtyard, the Harris brothers watched with uneasy expressions. But today is also a day of cleansing for our school, not physical cleaning, which our staff always does so well, but moral cleansing. A puzzled silence fell over the courtyard. Over the past few months, some students at this school have engaged in systematic bullying against Tyler and other classmates. These acts were documented by our security cameras and constitute a crime under the law. Jason and Ethan Harris began to pale. Furthermore, we discovered that the parents of these students not only knew about the bullying, but encouraged it, using their family's social standing to intimidate school staff. Mrs. Patricia Thompson signaled for the men in suits to step forward. For this reason, today I am announcing that Lincoln Public Middle School has terminated its contract with Harris & Sons Cleaning Services due to behavior incompatible with the educational values of this institution. The Harris brothers' father, who had arrived minutes earlier, tried to protest. "This is outrageous. You can't do this." "We absolutely can, Mr. Harris. In addition to the contract termination, your family will be required to pay compensation for emotional damages to the bullying victims. The lawsuit has already been filed." "You'll regret this," the man shouted. "No, Mr. Harris, the ones who regret are this school for taking so long to act. Jason and Ethan Harris, you are being transferred to another institution, where we hope you will learn the values we failed to teach you here." The brothers left the courtyard with their heads down, followed by their furious father. "And now," Mrs. Thompson continued, "I want to announce something very special for this school. Thanks to Tyler's outstanding performance in the Olympiad, our school has been selected to host a special program for math competition preparation." She gestured to a woman on stage. "This is Mrs. Barbara Wilson, who will be our project coordinator. She is an expert in advanced mathematics and will be volunteering with us." Mrs. Wilson waved to the audience. "Additionally," Mrs. Thompson smiled, "I am thrilled to announce that Tyler is my grandson, and that his mother, Sarah, whom you know as our diligent cleaning staff member, is actually my daughter, Patricia, a graduate in education, who will now assume the role of academic coordinator for this school." The courtyard erupted in murmurs and applause. No one had expected this revelation. "Sometimes," the principal continued, "families drift apart due to misunderstandings, but love always finds a way to bring people back together." Tyler stepped down from the stage and hugged his mother, who was crying with emotion. Several classmates came up to congratulate him, including Emma, the shy girl who had always defended him. "Tyler," she whispered, "I always knew you were special." "Thank you, Emma. You've always been a good friend too." After the assembly in the principal's office, Tyler spoke with his newly discovered grandmother. "Grandma, can I ask you something?" "Of course, my dear." "Why did you become the principal of this school?" "To have a job that would allow me to help children like you, bright children who need opportunities." "And now? Am I really transferring to the private academy?" "That's your choice, Tyler. The scholarship is guaranteed, but know that if you want to stay here, we will create an environment where you can reach your full potential." "I think I'll stay. This school has special people like Mrs. Wilson and my family." A week later, Tyler was at Mrs. Wilson's house for a celebratory lesson. "Mrs. Wilson, how did you get the position at the school?" "Your grandmother reached out to me. She knew I had helped you and wanted me to continue working with you officially. And you just accepted, just like that." "Tyler, at 70 years old, nothing makes me happier than seeing a talented young person like you grow. This is my life's purpose. Thank you for believing in me when no one else did. I only saw what was always there, a brilliant, determined boy with a good heart." 3 months later, Tyler's life had completely changed. He was still at the same school, but now in a special class for students with high mathematical abilities. The class had only 8 students, all prepared by Mrs. Barbara for future Olympiads. Sarah, now in the role of academic coordinator, had implemented an anti-bullying program that became a model for other schools in the area. She used her own son's experience to raise awareness among other students about the importance of mutual respect. "Mom," Tyler said one afternoon, "do you think I should forgive the Harris brothers?" "Forgiveness is a personal choice, son. But remember, people who hurt others are often suffering themselves." "What do you mean?" "Jason and Ethan probably learned to be cruel at home. They're victims of their own family environment." Tyler thought about it. "Maybe one day I'll run into them and we can talk." "Maybe. But don't force yourself. Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting or letting them hurt you again." At school, Tyler had become something of a natural leader. Other students who were bullied sought his help, and he always encouraged them to talk to their teachers and never keep their suffering to themselves. "Tyler," Emma said during recess, "you've changed so much these past few months." "How so?" "You're more confident, happier. It's like you've found your place in the world." "I think I really have." "What about you, Emma? Have you thought about what you want to do in the future?" "Actually, watching you with math made me interested in physics. Mrs. Barbara said I might have a talent for it." "That's great, we can study together." The friendship between Tyler and Emma had grown a lot during those months. She had shed her excessive shyness and revealed herself to be a very smart and creative girl. One day, 6 months after the Olympiad, Tyler was leaving school when he saw a familiar figure waiting on the sidewalk. It was Jason Harris. "Hi, Tyler." "Hi, Jason." Tyler felt tense but didn't show fear. Can I talk to you for a minute?" "Sure." The two walked in silence for a few steps before Jason spoke again. "I wanted to apologize." Tyler stopped walking and looked at him. "Apologize?" "For what my brother and I did to you. It was wrong, really wrong." "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because at the new school we're at, there's a boy who reminds me of you. He's different, smart, quiet, and some kids started picking on him. And I remembered how you must have felt when we did those things, and I stood up for him." Tyler was surprised. "Really?" "Really. And you know what happened? I became friends with him. Turns out he's one of the coolest people I've ever met. If I hadn't defended him, I might never have known." "That's great, Jason." "Tyler, you might not believe it, but I learned a lot from everything that happened. My parents always taught me that to be strong, I had to put others down. But that was wrong. And now? Now I know that real strength is protecting those who are weaker. It's being kind even when no one's watching." The two stood on the sidewalk in silence for a moment. "Jason, I accept your apology, and I'm glad you've changed. You forgive me?" "I forgive you, but not for the reasons you might think." "What do you mean?" "I forgive because holding on to anger only hurts me, and because, in a way, everything you did helped me discover who I really am." "How?" "If you hadn't treated me badly, I might never have turned to studying for refuge. And if I hadn't dedicated myself so much to studying, I might never have discovered my talent for math." Jason smiled for the first time in the conversation. "So in a weird way, we ended up helping you?" "In a very weird way, yeah." "Tyler, can I ask you a question?" "Go ahead." "Are you happy now?" "Very happy. I have a family who loves me, true friends, teachers who believe in me, and I've discovered I'm good at something I love doing." "That's wonderful. You deserve to be happy." They said goodbye with a handshake. Tyler continued on his way home, reflecting on how life can take unexpected turns. At home, he told his mother about running into Jason. "How did you feel seeing him?" asked Sarah. "At first, nervous. Then I felt sorry for him." "Sorry?" "Yeah. I realized he was suffering just as much as I used to. The difference is he took his pain out on others." "That's a very mature reflection, son." "Mom, can I ask you something about you and Grandma?" "Of course." "Do you regret fighting?" "Every day. We lost 4 years we'll never get back. But you found each other again. That's what matters." "It's true. And do you know why we were able to reconnect?" "Why?" "Because of you. You were the bridge that brought our family back together." The following week, Tyler competed in his second math Olympiad. This time, he was much more confident and prepared. His previous experience had taught him a lot about handling pressure. 2 weeks later, the results were announced. First place in the state. The whole school celebrated. Mrs. Patricia organized a special party in the courtyard, and even the mayor came to congratulate Tyler. "This young man is Dayton's pride," the mayor said in his speech. "He proves that with talent, dedication, and opportunity, any child can go far." But for Tyler, the most special moment was when Mrs. Barbara approached him afterward. "Tyler, you have something that can't be taught, humility. Even as the best math student in the state, you're still the same kind, polite boy you've always been." "Thank you, ma'am. You taught me that intelligence without kindness is meaningless, and you've learned that lesson perfectly." 6 months later, Tyler was preparing for the National Olympiad. His routine included advanced studies with Mrs. Barbara, regular school classes, and on weekends volunteering for a project he had created himself: free math tutoring for underprivileged kids in the community. "Why did you decide to start this project?" asked Emma, who had become his main helper. "Because I know what it's like to feel different and without opportunities. If I can help other kids discover their talents, why wouldn't I?" The project had started small, with just 5 children. 6 months later, it was serving 30 students and had caught the attention of the local press. Tyler Mitchell Anderson, just 13 years old, is already considered a math prodigy, the TV report said. But what stands out most isn't just his numerical skills, it's his generosity in sharing knowledge with other kids. "My goal is to show that math can be fun," Tyler said in the interview. "A lot of kids are afraid of numbers because no one ever explained them properly. Once you understand the logic, everything gets easier." The report also interviewed some of the project's students. "Tyler is the best teacher I've ever had," said Charlie, a 10-year-old boy. "He doesn't get mad when we don't understand right away, and he always finds another way to explain. Before his classes, I hated math," added Felicity, 11. "Now I want to be an engineer when I grow up." After watching the report, Mrs. Patricia called Tyler for a talk. "Grandson, do you realize the impact you're having on these kids' lives?" "I'm just doing what I believe is right, Grandma." "Exactly, and that's what makes me proudest of you. It's not just your intelligence, it's your character. Grandma, can I ask you something? Always. Do you think I should stay focused only on math or try other areas too? What does your heart tell you?" "That I want to use math to help people. Maybe become a teacher or an engineer or a scientist, but always thinking about how I can make a difference." Then you already have your answer. On the day of the National Olympiad, Tyler traveled to Washington, D.C., accompanied by his mother, grandmother, and Mrs. Barbara. It was his first time leaving Chicago. "I'm nervous," he confessed on the plane. "It's normal," said Mrs. Barbara. "But remember, you're not here by chance. You studied hard and deserve to be among the best in the country." The test was the hardest Tyler had ever faced. 5 hours of questions requiring creativity, advanced logic, and knowledge far beyond the regular school curriculum. "How was it?" asked Sarah when he left the room. "Tough but interesting. There was a question about graph theory that took me 40 minutes just to understand the problem." "And did you solve it?" "I did, and it was one of the most satisfying feelings of my life." The results would be announced in 3 weeks. During that time, Tyler kept up his normal routine: school classes, volunteer work, and preparation for other academic competitions. "Tyler," said Emma during one of their project meetings, "aren't you anxious about the results?" "I am, but I've learned I can't control the outcome, only my effort, and I know I gave it my best." "You've changed a lot since we first met." "How so?" "You used to be more unsure, more closed off. Now you seem certain of who you are and what you want." "I think discovering I had a family who loved me made all the difference, and having friends like you helped a lot too." The night before the results were announced, Tyler had an important talk with Mrs. Barbara. "Ms. Barbara, no matter what happens tomorrow, I want to thank you for everything." "Tyler, you don't have to thank me. Teaching you has been one of the greatest joys of my life. But there's one thing I've always wondered. Why did you take an interest in me from the start?" "Do you want the honest answer?" "I do. Because you reminded me of myself as a child. I was bullied in school too. I was different from the other kids, and I also found refuge in studying." "Really?" "Really. And I always thought, if someone had helped me back then, maybe I would have gone even further. So I decided to be for you the person I wish I'd had. You've gone very far, Miss Barbara. You became one of the best teachers in the country. Thank you, dear, but my greatest achievement was helping you discover your potential. The next morning, the whole family gathered in Mrs. Patricia's living room, waiting for the phone call with the results. At 10 o'clock, the phone rang. Hello? Tyler answered, his voice shaky. Is this Tyler Mitchell Anderson? Yes. This is the National Coordination of the Math Olympiad. I'm pleased to inform you that you placed third nationally. Tyler was silent for a few seconds. Third place nationally? That's right. Congratulations. You're one of the top 3 math students in the country for your age group. When he hung up, the room erupted in cheers. Sarah cried, Mrs. Patricia clapped, and Mrs. Barbara kept repeating, I knew it! I knew it! Third place in the country, Tyler shouted, still in disbelief. My grandson is a genius, Mrs. Patricia announced to anyone who would listen. That afternoon, the school held another assembly to celebrate his achievement. This time, even national media showed up. Tyler, a reporter asked, how does it feel to be recognized as one of the brightest young minds in the country? Grateful. Thankful to my family, my teachers, my friends, and especially to those who believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself. What are your plans for the future? To keep studying, to keep teaching other kids, and to use my knowledge to make a difference in the world. Do you have a message for other young people who might be going through struggles like you did? Tyler thought for a moment before answering. Yes. I want to say that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter if people doubt you. It doesn't matter how many times you fall. What matters is that you believe in yourself and never give up on your dreams. And remember, there will always be people willing to help if you have the courage to ask. After the interview, Tyler was approached by several private schools offering full scholarships, but he had already made up his mind. Grandma, I want to keep studying here at the public school. Are you sure, sweetheart? Absolutely. This school gave me the chance to discover who I am. Now I want to help other students discover who they are too. What about your advanced studies? I'll keep working with Mrs. Barbara, and I'll also take an extension course at the university on Saturdays, but my foundation will stay here. 2 years later, at 15, Tyler had become a minor celebrity in the academic world. He competed in international Olympiads, won several medals, and his volunteer teaching project had expanded to 5 schools in the area. But what made him proudest wasn't the awards on his shelf, it was the stories of transformation from the kids he taught. Mr. Tyler, said Charlie, now 12, I got an A on my math test. Congratulations, Charlie, I knew you could do it. You know what's really cool? My mum said I can enroll in a technical school next year because of my grades. That's wonderful. You absolutely deserve it. Stories like this kept repeating. Of the first 30 kids Tyler taught, 25 had drastically improved their math grades, and 10 had already earned scholarships to technical schools. Tyler, Mrs. Barbara said during one of their private lessons, do you remember that day in the cafeteria when you got spaghetti thrown in your face? How could I forget? Did you ever imagine back then that your life would be like this today? Never. That day, I just wanted to disappear, to turn invisible. And look where you are now. Sometimes the worst experiences in our lives end up being the starting point for the best ones. Mrs. Barbara, can I confess something? Of course. I'm grateful to the Harris brothers. What do you mean? If they hadn't picked on me so much, I might never have buried myself in my studies. And if I hadn't done that, I might never have discovered my love for math. That's an interesting perspective. Sometimes what seems like a tragedy is just the beginning of something amazing. We just can't see it at the time. That same year, Tyler was invited to speak at TEDx Youth Chicago. His talk was titled, From Bullies to Values, How I Transformed Bullying into Purpose. At 12, he began, I was just a shy boy who got bullied every day at school. My mom worked as a cleaner, I had no friends, and my biggest dream was to become invisible. The audience was completely silent. Now at 15, I'm a bronze medalist in the International Mathematical Olympiad. I teach over 100 kids every week, and I've found my purpose in life, to use knowledge to create opportunities for those who need it most. Applause filled the auditorium. The difference between those two versions of myself wasn't luck, wasn't magic, wasn't because someone rescued me. The difference was that I learned 3 fundamental lessons. He paused for dramatic effect. First lesson: where we start doesn't determine where we end up. It doesn't matter where you come from, it matters where you're going. Second lesson: knowledge is the only thing no one can take from you. When you invest in learning, you're investing in freedom. Third lesson: when you find your talent, your duty is to share it. Keeping knowledge to yourself is wasting an opportunity to change the world. The talk ended with a standing ovation that lasted 5 minutes. After the event, Tyler was approached by an elderly woman. "Can I speak with you for a minute?" she asked. "Of course, ma'am. My name is Margaret. I'm a retired teacher like your Mrs. Barbara, and I wanted to tell you that your story inspired me to return to volunteer work." "Really? Really? I stopped teaching 5 years ago because I thought I wasn't making a difference anymore. But seeing you today, I realized there are always children who need someone to believe in them." "I'm really happy to hear that, Mrs. Margaret. Can I ask you a favor?" "Of course. If you ever need another volunteer teacher for your project, call me. At 78, I still have so much love to give." Tyler smiled and wrote down her number. "You just got yourself a job, Mrs. Margaret." 3 months later, Mrs. Margaret was teaching English to the children in Tyler's project. Gradually, other retired teachers joined the initiative, creating a full tutoring program. "Tyler," Sarah said one evening, "do you realize how many lives you've already changed?" "Mum, I just do what I love. I don't think much about it." "You should." "Yesterday, I got a call from Charlie's mum. He got first place in the entrance exam for the technical school." "That's great. She said that before your classes, Charlie hated studying. Now he wants to be an engineer." "Every child who learns something new makes all the effort worth it, Mom." "What about little Felicity? Remember her? The girl who wanted to be an engineer. She got a full scholarship to a private school based on her grades alone. And guess what? She said when she grows up, she wants to start a project just like yours." Tyler felt his heart warm. "That means the project will keep going even when I grow up and move on. It means you planted a seed that will grow forever." At the end of that year, Tyler turned 16. His birthday party was held at the school, and who showed up? All the kids from the project, the volunteer teachers, his family, and a special surprise, Jason Harris. "Hi, Tyler. Happy 16th birthday." "Jason, what a surprise. How did you know about the party?" "Emma told me. I hope you don't mind me being here." "Of course not. I'm actually glad you came." "Tyler, can I tell you something?" "Sure. I follow your news online. I read about your medals, your project, your talks. And I want to say I'm really proud of who you've become." "Thanks, Jason. Actually, I have a confession to make." "What confession?" "You inspired me to start a similar project at my school. I'm teaching sports to kids from low-income families." "Really? That's amazing." "Yeah, I found out I'm good at sports, but more importantly, I like teaching. And I learned that by watching you." "Jason, that's fantastic. How many kids are you helping?" 15 for now, but I plan to expand. If you ever need help, you can count on me." "Thanks, Tyler, and I'm sorry again for everything in the past." "Jason, the past brought us here. I wouldn't change a thing." During the party, Tyler stepped onto the small stage set up in the schoolyard. "Everyone, I want to thank you all for being here today. 4 years ago, in this same schoolyard, I was just a scared kid who got food thrown in his face." Affectionate laughter rippled through the crowd. "Today, I'm here surrounded by people I love and who love me. I learned that family isn't just who you're born with, but who chooses to stand by you." He looked at Mrs. Barbara Wilson, at Emma, at the volunteer teachers, at the kids in the program. "I learned that intelligence without love is worthless, that success without generosity is failure, and that our greatest talent isn't what we know how to do, but what we manage to teach others." Applause filled the schoolyard. So on my 16th birthday, I want to ask all of you one thing. Never stop learning, never stop teaching, and never stop believing you can make a difference in the world. When the applause died down, a familiar voice shouted from the back of the yard, "Happy birthday, champ." It was his father. The man who had abandoned them 4 years earlier was standing at the school entrance. The yard fell completely silent. Tyler looked at his mother, who had gone pale with shock. "Can I talk to you for a minute?" the man said as he stepped forward. "Right here, in front of everyone," Tyler replied coldly. "Son, I know I made mistakes. I'm not your son. A son implies presence, care, love. You're just the man who brought me into this world. Tyler, I deserve a second chance." "A second chance for what? To leave us again when things get tough?" The man tried to step closer, but Sarah moved between them. "You have no right to show up here and ruin my son's day," she said firmly. "Our son," the man tried to correct. "My son," Sarah repeated. "I'm the one who raised him alone. I'm the one who endured humiliation to give him dignity. I'm the one who believed in his potential when no one else did. Sarah, I've changed. Maybe you have. But some things can't be undone. You lost the right to be his father the day you chose to walk away." Mrs. Patricia Thompson stepped closer to the group. "Sir, I'm going to ask you to leave. This is a private celebration and you weren't invited." "I'm his father." "No," Tyler said, stepping back onto the stage. "My father is everyone here today. The people who believed in me, who taught me, who stood by me when things were hard." He pointed to the crowd. "My father is Mrs. Barbara, who taught me that intelligence is a gift meant to be shared. My mother is the warrior who worked hard to give me opportunities. My grandmother is the principal who protected me even when I didn't know it. My brothers and sisters are all these kids who study and dream with me." The man stood frozen for a few seconds, then turned and walked away. "Sorry for the scene, everyone," Tyler said into the microphone, "but sometimes life gives us chances to make our values clear. Family isn't about sharing the same blood. Family is about standing by you when times are tough." The celebration continued with even more joy after that moment, as if everyone had drawn even closer around Tyler. At the end of the night, when everyone had left, Tyler stood alone in the yard with Sarah and Mrs. Patricia. "How do you feel, son?" Sarah asked. "Relieved. I finally said everything I needed to say to him." "You were very brave," Mrs. Patricia said. "Grandma, can I tell you a secret?" "Of course." "For a long time I was angry at him for leaving. Then I was sad. Today, for the first time, I just feel sorry for him." "Sorry?" "Yeah. He missed the chance to see everything that happened to me these past years. He missed watching me grow, being proud of what I've done, being part of my story." "And you don't feel like giving him a chance?" "No. Because I've learned that some doors, once they close, are better left shut. I have a complete family without him." A month after that day, Tyler got an unexpected offer. An American university wanted him to study there on a full scholarship. "It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity," said Mrs. Barbara Wilson. "MIT is one of the best universities in the world for math. But I'm only 16. I haven't even finished high school yet. They have a special program for gifted students. You'd do high school and college at the same time." Tyler fell silent, thinking, "What about my project here? And the kids?" "The project can continue with other teachers. You've already built a solid foundation. But it wouldn't be the same." "Tyler," Sarah interjected, "you can't give up your future for the project." "Mom, the project is my future. It's how I feel fulfilled." "Son, you're 16. You don't have to make this decision now." "Actually, I do, because this opportunity won't come again." Tyler asked for 2 weeks to think it over. During that time, he spoke with all the important people in his life, family, teachers, friends, and especially the kids from the project. "Mr. Tyler," said little Amy, 8 years old, "if you leave, who's going to teach us?" "There are other really good teachers, Amy, but not like you." "Why not like me?" "Because you understand when we don't get it. You're patient." Conversations like this repeated over the 2 weeks, but it was a talk with Mrs. Wilson that helped him make his final decision. "Mrs. Wilson, what would you do in my place?" "Tyler, I'll tell you a story I've never told anyone." "What story?" "When I was 25, I was invited to do a PhD in math in France. It was a once-in-a-lifetime chance, something that would have changed my life forever. And you went? No, because at the time I was teaching at a school in the South Side, and I thought I couldn't abandon my students. Did you regret it? For a long time, no. I spent 40 years teaching at that school, helped hundreds of students. But now at 70, I wonder, what if I'd gone to France? What if I'd made big math discoveries that could have helped thousands of people? And what's the answer? There's no right or wrong answer, Tyler. There are only choices. And every choice has a price. What's the price of staying? You might be giving up discoveries that could revolutionize math. And what's the price of leaving? You might be abandoning people who need you now. Tyler reflected on that conversation for days. At the end of the 2 weeks, he gathered his whole family and the project's teachers to announce his decision. I've decided to stay in the US. A mix of relief and worry filled the room. But, he continued, with some conditions. What conditions? Sarah asked. First, I'll finish high school in 2 years instead of 3, studying intensively. Second, I'll get my math degree at the University of Chicago, one of the best in the world for that. Third, the whole time I'm in college, I'll keep running the community project. And fourth, after I graduate, I'll do my master's and PhD focused on math education for low-income kids. Mrs. Wilson smiled proudly. In other words, she said, you found a way to balance your academic dreams with your social purpose. Exactly. I don't just want to be a brilliant mathematician. I want to be one who makes a difference in people's lives. 2 years later, at 18, Tyler graduated high school with the best grades in the school's history. His community project was now helping over 300 kids across 10 different schools. On graduation day, he was asked to give the class farewell speech. When I started here 6 years ago, he began, I was a scared kid who dreamed of being invisible. Today, I leave as someone who's found his life's mission. The audience was moved. This school taught me that it doesn't matter how many times you fall, but how many times you get back up. It taught me that family is who welcomes you when you need it most. And it taught me that our greatest challenges can become our greatest triumphs. He looked at the Harris brothers, who had returned to attend the graduation. I'm even grateful to the people who made me suffer because they taught me the importance of empathy and compassion. Jason and Ethan clapped quietly. But most of all, I'm thankful to those who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. Teachers, family, friends, you showed me that with love and dedication, any dream is possible. When he finished his speech, the entire audience stood for a 10-minute ovation. At the graduation party, Tyler was approached by a man in a suit he didn't recognize. Tyler, may I speak with you? Of course. Who are you? My name is Dr. Robert Williams. I'm the Dean of the University of Chicago. Really? Tyler was stunned. I came here personally to discuss your college plans. You want to meet me in person? I do. Tyler, you're not just a brilliant student. Your social work has caught the attention of educators worldwide. How so? Your project was featured in an article in Science Education Journal. Educators from several countries want to understand how you teach advanced math to low-income children. I had no idea. Tyler, I want to make you an offer. How would you feel if the University of Chicago created a special undergraduate program in math focused on social education? A special program? You'd be the first student and at the same time help develop the course's methodology. It would train teachers specialized in teaching math to vulnerable populations. Tyler was speechless for a moment. Dr. Williams, does this mean I could study at the University of Chicago while continuing my project? Not just continue, expand it nationwide. The university would invest resources to bring your methodology across the country. Is this for real? Completely real. Tyler, you've created something revolutionary without even realizing it. We need to scientifically study how to replicate your success. That night, Tyler barely slept. The offer was everything he'd dreamed of, studying at a top university while expanding his social impact. The next morning, he gathered his family to share the news. So you're telling me you'll be the first student in a program created just for you? Sarah asked, incredulous. Basically, yes. And the most amazing part is they want to document my entire teaching method to train other educators. My grandson is going to revolutionize American education, Mrs. Patricia said proudly. Grandma, don't exaggerate. It's not an exaggeration, Tyler. It's the truth. 3 months later, Tyler began his studies at the University of Chicago. The special program had drawn national media attention, and he became a minor celebrity in academic circles. How did you develop your teaching method? A journalist asked in an interview. It wasn't planned. I just remembered how I felt when I didn't understand something and tried to teach it the way I wished I'd been taught. And what's the secret to your success? Patience, love, and the belief that every child can learn anything, if they're taught the right way. During his first year of college, Tyler kept his routine, morning classes at the University of Chicago, his social project in the afternoon, and studying at night. It was demanding, but he was fulfilled. One afternoon at the project, he received a special visit, a group of Japanese teachers who had come to the US specifically to see his work. Mr. Anderson, the group's leader said through a translator, in Japan, we have the highest math scores in the world. But here, we see underprivileged children learning advanced concepts with joy. This is unprecedented. What's the difference you notice? In Japan, children learn out of obligation. Here, they learn for pleasure. That's far more powerful. And how do I achieve this? First, you get to know each child individually. Learn their struggles, their dreams, their stories. Second, you connect math to their real lives. You don't teach abstract numbers, but tools to solve everyday problems. And third, you celebrate every small victory as if it were a major achievement. That's exactly right. Every child who understands a fraction is a reason to celebrate here. Mr. Tyler, can we bring your methodology to Japan? Of course, knowledge should be shared. 6 months later, Tyler received a thank you letter from a Japanese school that had implemented his techniques. Grades had improved, but most importantly, the children had developed a love for math. In his second year of college, at 19, Tyler was invited to speak at the UN about inclusive education. 7 years ago, he began in the famous auditorium, I was a child bullied every day. Today I stand here speaking to representatives from every country in the world about turning education into a tool for social justice. The audience was completely captivated. I've learned that education isn't a privilege, it's a right. And it's not enough to just provide basic education for all. We must deliver quality education that awakens talents, creates opportunities, and transforms lives. In 3 years, my small project grew from 5 children to over 1,000. Why? Because we proved that every child, regardless of background, can learn anything. The problem isn't the children, the problem is how we teach. When we change our teaching methods, we change these children's futures. The speech ended with delegates from 15 countries requesting information on implementing similar methodologies in their regions. After the talk, Tyler was approached by an elegant woman. Mr. Tyler, my name is Elizabeth Crawford. I direct a European foundation that invests in innovative education. Pleasure to meet you. I'd like to make a proposal. Our foundation wants to invest $5 million to expand your project across Latin America. $5 million, Tyler nearly choked. That's right. We believe your methodology can change education for millions of children. But I'm still a college student. Exactly. And that's why your approach is so revolutionary. You're not bound by old paradigms, you innovate naturally. That conversation completely changed the course of Tyler's life. With the European Foundation's investment, he established the Tyler Anderson Institute for Inclusive Math Education. By 21, when he graduated from the University of Chicago, Tyler already had projects running in 50 US cities and 10 Latin American countries. Son, Sarah said on graduation day, do you remember when I asked you not to react to the Harris brothers' taunts? I do. You obeyed me, but not in the way I expected. What do you mean? I thought you'd just endure it silently, but you did react. You reacted by studying, by teaching, by changing the world. Mom, everything I am today I owe to you. If you hadn't taught me patience and perseverance, Tyler, You always had that in you. I just helped nurture it. At the graduation party, Tyler made sure to invite everyone who had been important in his journey. Mrs. Barbara Wilson, now 75, still taught in the project 3 times a week. "Miss Jennifer," he said, "do you remember the first time you saw me at school?" How could I forget? A sad, lonely boy who was clearly suffering. And what did you think at that moment? That I needed to help that child, even if it was the last thing I did in my life. You did much more than help. You changed my life. Tyler, you changed my life too. Teaching you reminded me why I became a teacher. During the celebration, Tyler was surprised by the presence of dozens of his former students from the project. Many were already in high school, some in college. "Mr. Tyler," said Charlie, now 17, "I want to study engineering at the University of Chicago, just like you studied math." "I'm sure you'll make it, Charlie." "I already did. I passed the entrance exam last month." "Really? Congratulations." Tyler hugged him, moved. "Professor, can I tell you a secret?" "Of course. I wouldn't have passed if it weren't for your classes, not just because I learned math, but because you taught me to believe in myself. Charlie, you always had potential. You just needed to discover it." "Yeah, and you were the one who helped me do that." Stories like Charlie's repeated all night. Tyler realized he had created a virtuous cycle. Children who learned from him were now teaching others. "Professor," said Felicity, now 18, "I have a proposal for you." "What proposal?" "I want to work at the Institute, for free, at least at first." "Felicity, you don't have to work for free." "I want to, because you taught me that knowledge should be shared. Now it's my turn to share what I've learned." At the end of the celebration, Tyler took the stage for a final speech. "Everyone, when I was 12 years old and got that plate of spaghetti thrown in my face, I never imagined I'd be here today. Graduated from one of the best universities in the country, running an international education institute." Affectionate laughter filled the room. "But you know what moves me the most? It's not the academic achievements, not the awards, not the financial resources we've raised. What moves me most is knowing that hundreds of children now have opportunities they wouldn't have had without this project. Knowing that education truly can break cycles of poverty. So on my graduation day, I want to make a public commitment to you. I will dedicate my entire life to proving that every child, no matter where they're born, can achieve anything through education." The celebration ended with everyone singing happy birthday to Tyler, but also to all the children whose lives had been transformed by the project. 3 years later, at 24, Tyler defended his master's thesis, "Innovative Methodologies for Teaching Math in Vulnerable Populations, a Case Study of Social Transformation Through Education." His thesis was considered groundbreaking and became an international reference in math education. "Tyler," said his advisor after the defense, "in 30 years of supervising theses, I've never seen work with as much practical impact as yours." "Thank you, Professor." "Do you plan to pursue a PhD?" "I do, but I want to focus on a specific question: how to use technology to bring quality math education to remote areas." "Interesting. Why that focus?" "Because I've received letters from kids in Appalachia, the Great Plains, indigenous communities, all wanting to join the project but living too far from urban centers." "And what's your idea?" "To create a digital platform that replicates my methodology, but is adapted to work anywhere in the world, even with limited internet." 2 years later, Tyler launched the Math for Everyone platform, a system running on simple tablets with lessons tailored to different cultures and socioeconomic realities. The launch happened simultaneously in 15 countries. Within just a month, the platform had 100,000 registered users. "This is unbelievable," Tyler said to his team. "We're reaching places we never imagined," said Melissa, Tyler's technology coordinator. "I just got an email from a teacher in Alaska. She's using our platform to teach Inuit children." "Really?" "Really. And there's more. A Syrian refugee sent a video of Palestinian children learning math through tablets they received from an NGO. Tyler was moved. His methodology, born from a painful bullying experience at a public school in Dayton, was now spreading across the world. That same year, at 26, Tyler was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize for his contributions to global education. A Nobel nominee? He nearly fainted when he heard the news. "Son," said Sarah, "you deserve this recognition and so much more." "Mom, it feels like a dream." "It's reality, Tyler. You've changed the lives of millions of children worldwide." Though he didn't win the Nobel, which went to a human rights activist, Tyler was invited to receive the Global Education Prize, considered the Nobel of Education. At the ceremony in London, he was accompanied by his entire family: Sarah, Mrs. Patricia, Mrs. Barbara, now 80 years old, Emma, who had become an engineer and was the Institute's technical coordinator, and dozens of former students. "When I step onto this stage to receive this award," Tyler said in his speech, "I'm not here alone. I represent thousands of dedicated teachers, millions of determined children, and especially the people who believed in me when I was just a scared little boy. This award isn't mine. It belongs to every child who's ever felt different, who's been humiliated, who's doubted themselves. I want all those children to know you are capable of extraordinary things. And I want every adult in the world to understand, when we invest in a child's education, we're not just changing their future, we're changing the future of humanity." After the ceremony, Tyler was interviewed by CNN. "Mr. Tyler, what would you say to children experiencing bullying today? The pain you feel today can become the strength that changes your life tomorrow. Don't let anyone diminish your dreams. Study, persist, and believe. You're much stronger than you think." And for parents, believe in your children even when they don't believe in themselves. Sometimes one word of encouragement can change a life forever. And for teachers, never underestimate the power of your profession. You don't just teach subjects, you shape futures. Every student who passes through your hands could be the person who changes the world. Back in the US, Tyler decided to return to his roots. He requested to give a talk at Lincoln Public Middle School, where it all began. The auditorium was packed: students, teachers, parents, and the entire local community. In the crowd, Tyler spotted a familiar face: Jason Harris, now 27. "Tyler," Jason said after the talk, "can I talk to you?" "Of course, Jason. How are you?" "Good, actually really good. I wanted to tell you I became a PE teacher." "That's great. How's the program you created?" "It's grown a lot. I now work with over 200 kids across 5 schools. And guess what?" "What?" "One of the kids in my program was selected for the US Olympic gymnastics team." "Jason, that's amazing. Congratulations." "Tyler, can I confess something?" "Sure." "Every morning when I wake up for work, I remember that time in school and I think, if I could go from a bully to someone who helps kids, then anyone can change." "Jason, your story is inspiring. It shows no one is defined by their past mistakes. Actually, I wanted to ask you a favor." "What favor?" "Would you be my best man? I'm getting married next month." Tyler was surprised. "Best man? Jason, are you sure?" "Absolutely. I want the person who taught me about forgiveness to be one of the most important people on the most important day of my life." A month later, Tyler stood at the altar beside Jason, serving as his best man. In the audience, Sarah wiped away tears. "I never imagined I'd see this day," she whispered to Mrs. Patricia. "Life sometimes surprises us in wonderful ways," the grandmother replied. After the ceremony, during the reception, Jason made sure to mention Tyler in his speech. "I want to thank someone very special here today. Tyler, 15 years ago I treated you terribly. You could have held a grudge forever, but instead you taught me about forgiveness, second chances, and transformation. If I'm a better person today, I owe so much to you. Thank you for forgiving me and believing I could change." The entire room applauded. Tyler was moved. 2 years later, at 28, Tyler received even happier news. Emma had accepted his marriage proposal. "Are you sure you want to marry a workaholic obsessed with education?" he joked. "I'm sure I want to marry the man who taught me big dreams are possible," she replied. They married at the very school where they'd met. Mrs. Barbara, now 82, insisted on officiating. She'd become a minister after retiring from teaching. Tyler and Emma, she said during the ceremony, you met in a school, grew together through education, and will now build a family rooted in love for learning and social change. May this union be blessed, and may you keep changing the world. Now together. At the reception, Tyler reflected on his life. 16 years ago, in this same place, I was a 12-year-old boy getting food thrown in my face. Today, at 28, I'm marrying the woman I love, surrounded by family and friends, having dedicated my life to helping other children. If someone had told me, on that awful day in the cafeteria, that it was the start of a beautiful story, I'd never have believed it. But life teaches us our worst moments can become the foundation for our best. It all depends on how we respond, grow, and turn pain into purpose. 3 years after marrying, Tyler and Emma welcomed their first daughter, Patricia Barbara Anderson, honoring the two women who'd most influenced their lives. "Sweetheart," Tyler said, cradling the baby, "you were born into a family that believes education can change the world, and you'll grow up seeing it happen every day." Mrs. Patricia, now 75, wept with joy while holding her great-granddaughter. "Tyler, you've brought so much love to our family." "Grandma, it was the family that brought love to me. You saved me. We saved each other, my dear." That same year, the Tyler Anderson Institute for Inclusive Math Education celebrated its 10th anniversary. The numbers were staggering. Over 10 million children served across 80 countries. "Tyler," Melissa said during the Institute's celebration, "do you realize your work's real impact?" "How so?" "We did a study. Of the children in our program's first 5 years, 89% finished high school, 67% enrolled in college, and 23% already graduated. That's incredible. There's more. 15% of those graduates returned to their communities as teachers, creating a ripple effect." "You mean the kids we taught are now teaching others?" "Exactly. Your project has become self-sustaining. Even if you stopped today, it would keep growing through the people you've taught." Tyler was moved. It was confirmation that he had created something that would last forever. At 32, Tyler was invited to become the Secretary of Education for the United States. He declined. "Why did you refuse?" asked Emma. "Because politics has limitations I don't want. As secretary, I'd be trapped in bureaucracy, partisan interests, and limited budgets. And as director of the Institute? As director, I can innovate freely, seek resources wherever I want, and implement changes without asking for permission. That makes sense. Besides, I don't want to lose sight of what really matters: direct contact with children. If I become secretary, I'll spend my days in bureaucratic meetings instead of being in the classroom." Tyler continued dedicating at least one afternoon a week to teaching in public schools personally. It was his way of staying connected to his roots. During one of those afternoons, at a school on Chicago's South Side, he encountered a situation that deeply touched him. An 11-year-old boy was being humiliated by classmates for wearing old clothes. "What's your name?" Tyler asked the boy after class. "Peter." "Peter, can I tell you a story?" "Sure." "When I was your age, I was bullied too. The boys threw food at me, called me names." "Really? But you're famous." "Exactly. And do you know why I became famous?" "Why?" "Because I used all that pain to focus on studying. I worked so hard that I discovered my talent, and that talent led me to help millions of kids." "Do you think I have talent too?" "I'm certain of it. Everyone has a talent for something. You just need to find out what yours is." "How do I do that?" "By trying different things: art, sports, science, music. Eventually, you'll find something that makes your eyes light up." "Mr. Tyler, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you still feel sad when you remember the bullying?" "Sometimes, but you know what I feel most?" "What?" "Gratitude." "Gratitude?" "Yes. Because if that hadn't happened to me, maybe I never would have found my purpose in life." Peter grew thoughtful. "So bad things can turn into good things?" "They can, Peter. It depends on how you respond to them. 6 months later, Tyler received a letter from Peter. The boy had discovered a talent for drawing and earned a scholarship to an art school. "Mr. Tyler, thank you for teaching me that I can turn sadness into joy. Now I know my talent, and I'll use it to make other people happy too." Tyler kept the letter in a special folder where he collected messages from children impacted by his work. At 35, Tyler decided to write a book telling his story. From Bullies to Values: How I Transformed Bullying into Purpose became an international bestseller. "Why did you decide to write the book now?" a journalist asked. "Because I realized my story isn't just mine. It's the story of millions of kids who face bullying every day. If my book can inspire even one child not to give up on themselves, it'll have been worth it." What's the book's main message? That it doesn't matter where you come from or what's done to you. What matters is what you do with the experiences life gives you. Do you have a message for kids going through bullying now? Yes. I want them to know they're not alone, that the pain they feel today can become the strength that changes their lives, and that there will always be adults willing to help if they're brave enough to ask. The book earned over $5 million in royalties. Tyler donated every penny to create scholarships for bullying victims. At 40 years old, Tyler was invited to give the opening speech at the UNESCO World Education Conference. 28 years ago, he began, before representatives from every country in the world. "I was a child from Latin America who dreamed of being invisible. Today I stand here speaking to you about how I've made the potential of millions of children visible. I've learned that education isn't about transferring information. Education is about awakening possibilities, and every child, absolutely every child, has extraordinary possibilities within them. Our job as educators isn't to judge whether a child is intelligent or not. Our job is to discover how they are intelligent and help them develop that intelligence. When we manage to do this, we don't just change one child's life. We change the trajectory of a family, a community, a nation, and the world." The conference ended with the unanimous approval of the Tyler Anderson Declaration for Inclusive Education, a document that became an international benchmark for educational policies. End of story. Tell us what you thought of this story and where you're watching from. If you have something to share with us, leave your honest thoughts in the comments. Do you believe Tyler made the right decisions throughout his life? We'd love to read your opinion. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like the video and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other inspiring stories.